Bitcoin is nuking again, and the worst part is it's happening at a time when news is more bullish than it's been in months. The government shutdown is resolved, ETF inflows are still positive, and institutions are doubling down. So why is the market still dumping? There's several reasons we're going to discuss in this video, so stay tuned. This is your Altcoin Buzz News. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to know when we drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, altcoinbuzz.io, and as always, this is not financial advice, and wish the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Also, make sure to join us for our X Spaces, Tuesday to Friday at 9 a.m. EST, link down below. Alright, good morning guys. This is a very important video because something seems to have been broken in the market. Even stocks are dumping, crypto's dumping, and one thing I want to show you here is this is the pretty much top signal indicator everyone has been talking about for the longest time this cycle, which is on the weekly chart. If Bitcoin ever drops below the 50-week moving average, which is currently sitting this yellow line here, just around $100,500 currently, and we are below that right now, around $95,000. We went as low as around 94.5 this morning. And New York Open hasn't even opened yet, so we are currently below this. This could still very well close back above, but historically in past cycles, when we've closed below this for 2 weeks in a row, then the cycle has been over. So that is a indicator that I'm looking at right now, and I see this, pretty $5,000 below this in this level right here. So it's pretty decent drop. Before, when we had it back in April, we went a couple $1,000s. We were at around $78,000. We went down to around $74,000. Closed the week back above, and then pump from there. So this very well could be the bottom signal of me making this video. But I just wanted to share this with you guys, just so you know what I'm doing and you don't feel like we're like leading you astray. I personally have no more altcoins. I've sold all my altcoins. I've sold everything. I pretty much have no crypto right now. I am sitting in cash, even though we are pretty far down below here. It seemed like we should have got a bounce. I'll show you this on the daily. It seemed like we should have got some kind of bounce here around $97,000. Yesterday, we pretty much just sold straight through there, and it looks like we're starting to lose this level of support right now. So the reason why I have no altcoins, and I wanted to share this with you guys, is because I do think there's a possibility we go from $95,000 down to around this next level of support around $87,000. And I don't know what happens to altcoins in that drop. Bitcoin has already dropped so much, altcoins are already down so much. And so I figured I should share this with you guys because most, crypto channels or whatever will just tell you to keep buying the dip forever until we're at basically, bear market lows. And so I'm just telling you what I'm doing. You don't have to sell this, but I'm just telling you personally, I've sold this because we are so far in what is the 4-year cycle, and the potential for it to go even lower when Bitcoin's currently sitting at $95,000, currently pretty close to the top. The potential to go so much lower is definitely in the cards. And so that is what I'm currently doing. And we're going to go through a bunch of reasons why today Bitcoin is, still dumping, not doing so well. But I just wanted to share that with you first in this video so you guys know. It doesn't reflect the rest of the Altcoin Buzz team. I don't know what they're doing specifically. Just sharing what I'm doing. And I pretty much have no crypto right now. Doesn't mean it's not a good time to always be buying Bitcoin, because I do think in the long term it's going to always be going up. But if you do think that we're going to dump like I do from 95 down to around $87,000, you don't have to buy the dip right now. You can buy it if you think we're going lower. And one important thing to note is that this could potentially change in a few weeks. If quantitative tightening does help out, if we start going into quantitative easing, if the money printer comes on and the money comes back into crypto all of a sudden, then I'm very happy buying back altcoins at a higher level, but with more confirmation. So that's one thing I want to make clear. I don't have a problem buying back altcoins a bit higher if we are going to go higher, but being where we are in the cycle, it doesn't make sense to have so much exposure at these levels when Bitcoin is dropping below this very key level, the 50-week EMA that everyone always talks about. And if we lose this, it's pretty much over for the bull market. So that's what I'm doing. I will say I didn't make nearly as much this cycle as we would have hoped. I don't think anyone has. I think this cycle has been very, very tough for most people. Most altcoins are doing worse than, in the bear market level. So I took some profit, took some losses on a bunch of altcoins as well. So definitely there with you guys. This cycle hasn't been nearly as profitable as one would hope. And it's definitely more of a trader's cycle right now, saying that if the market comes back, I'll definitely get back in. I'll trade it to the next level. And so this cycle is really, playing what altcoins have the strength. And that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. I just wanted to share that with you guys because we are getting to this level where it's a very important level here. And I think most crypto channels will be like, hey, just keep buying the dip forever. And so just want to share that with you guys, what I'm doing. Now, the reason the market is tanking, October CPI and jobs data likely won't be released. So this important jobs data and CPI that we passed on when the government shut down, it won't be released. And this guy, he's obviously kidding. He's saying inflation is 10%. Which is not the real number, but it feels like it. And we lost 100,000 jobs last month. That's the reason why they're not releasing it. We also have the Kobayashi later saying the U.S. government shut down final stats. One is 5 million airline passengers delayed or canceled, $619 billion in new federal debt, federal statistics system permanently damaged, October's job and inflation data may never be released, 43 days of economic data currently delayed, 750,000 federal workers furloughed. The current funding bill also only reopens the government through January 30th. Round 2 awaits. So if they don't figure something up in the next 3 months as well, the government could shut down as well. So it's not a permanent fix, which is part of the reason why Bitcoin is not performing so well. We also have Mario Nafal saying, markets tanked and the Fed rate cut hopes vanished into the fog. So the markets plunged on Thursday as fading hopes for a Fed rate cut in December rattled investors. The S&P 500 dropped 1.6% and the Nasdaq fell 2.3%, and the Dow tanked 700 points, erasing Wednesday's record high. Traders priced in a 90% chance of a cut 2 weeks ago, now less than 50% after Powell warned a cut is not foregone conclusion. The Federal Reserve officials are deeply split, and missing jobs data and inflation data thanks to the shutdown isn't helping. Powell summed it up: what do you do if you're driving the fog? You slow down. The markets clearly are hitting the brakes, and they definitely are yesterday. The market dumped so much yesterday, especially on the S&P. And with the S&P at 500 at with the S&P 500 near all-time highs and still potentially has the downside to go, definitely will not help crypto, because we know on the downside, markets are always correlated. And if the S&P 500 is up here and crypto's still down here, the crypto could still go much lower. We also have another reason why the markets are dumping. We have the Vancouver Island guy saying most of these halved or down 50% in the last 30 days. AI companies without any significant financial metrics selling off. Imagine buying the top. So a lot of AI companies are starting to sell off. We can see here also, perhaps the risk of a recession is creeping up under our noses. According to Mike Zigmont at Wisdom Investment Group, tech stocks are suffering the worst week since April after an $800 billion AI sell-off. So a lot of AI companies are starting to sell off as it feels like we're kind of getting to that AI top-ish bubble popping era. And so I think a lot of people are tired of the AI trade. It's what's been propping up the S&P 500. A lot of the like top 7, top 10 not coins, a lot of top 7 or top 10 stocks in the S&P 500 have been all of the gains of the S&P 500. So when those companies like Nvidia sell off, it largely affects the S&P 500. We also have SoftBank just closed out of its entire Nvidia position, a stake that once made Masayoshi Son one of Nvidia's biggest early backers. They're freeing up $30 billion for new investments, and the exit says more about SoftBank's need for capital than anything about Nvidia. So the fact that SoftBank needs $30 billion, and also they're getting out of Nvidia what seems like a top for Nvidia. Then we also have market news showing hedge funds are collapsing and snitching on each other. Michael Burry announced the shutdown of his hedge fund, Brian Kahn charged and collapsed the Prophecy hedge fund, and Anson Fund is selling out of CIBC, TD Bank, and Jefferies in a litigation. So a lot of hedge funds are going under, but I will say Michael Burry went under because he was shorting into the top, and then he closed what seemed like at the top of the cycle, which is kind of sad. He was shorting Nvidia and Palantir and all these AI companies, and he seems to have closed his fund at the exact top, and now markets are going down, which is ironic, but that's how markets work. We also have Eric Soda saying sector rotation continues to play out, with tech logging its worst week since April. Even with a down week, 7 sectors finished up on the week. So far, this looks like more money is moving around the market than true bull market breakdown. So it seems like a lot of money is moving out of AI and tech, or really tech and AI, back into other industries. So it's not that it's a necessarily market sell-off, but a lot of these tech stocks are the biggest portions of the S&P 500. So when they sell off and then they move into other things, it's definitely going to go down. We also have another $1 billion in liquidation cascade on the way down to $96,000. When these events stop shocking and start feeling routine, that's exactly when you should be the most careful with leverage. The also crazy part is that we went from around $102,000 down to $96,000, and there's only $1 billion in liquidations, which is relatively not that much. It just means there's not a lot of money in the market that is, in leverage right now. And that's why it's, selling off so fast. We also have Brian Rose here, pretty much summing up all the points we just made. US inflation came in hotter than expected, shaking market confidence. Chances of a December rate cut dropped sharply, hurting liquidity. Talk of an AI bubble bursting is pulling risk assets down. Heavy leverage got wiped out, causing a chain of liquidations. SoftBank sold its entire Nvidia position, spooking tech investors. 2 subprime hedge funds collapse, giving 2007 vibes. Peak fear everywhere and sentiment is at rock bottom. Peak manipulation by whales. And Vivek shares a Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index just fell to 15, one of the lowest it's been. This is the best time to buy the dip. So this is one thing I wanted to point out too. You're going to see this all over Twitter or X or whatever. You're going to see this is the time to buy the dip. And it very well could be the time, but it's also, you have to think where we are in the cycle and how much you want to be holding in crypto at this point. I don't want you guys to get completely blown up and lose your life savings if this continues to dip. And so that's why I'm sharing this now. But historically, when the fear and greed does get to this level, it is a great time to be buying. It's just really up to you. We also have Derivatives Monkey who says, this is why Bitcoin is nuking. For the first time ever, MicroStrategy has gone below 1 NAV, meaning that Michael Saylor's Bitcoin holdings are worth less than their total debt. Traders are front-running the death spiral of MicroStrategy and its eventual Bitcoin forced selling. And then Dr. Julian shares a couple of reasons why crypto is going down. Not all of them are true or very, accurate, so I won't share all of them, but he says, absolutely no one can debate the actual arguments. Retail found other more interesting options, so there's no demand. So like we were saying before, there was a big AI trade going on this cycle and way more coins. So money got dispersed a lot more, but also stayed a lot more in TradFi. So a lot less money went to coins, but also there's just so many more coins and pump fund really destroying a lot of the new money coming in. Institutions never really came, and those digital asset treasuries that came are having massive MNAV issues, equals no demand. Saylor has been the main buyer and he's in trouble. No demand and real probability of him having to sell hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin soon. Exchanges, ETFs, etc. have to seal their fees, continue price pressure. Quantum computer issue is scaring insiders. Recession fears are scaring insiders. The death crust is also scaring insiders. Cycle theory is scaring insiders. Tax loss harvesting is causing sell pressure as we go into the end of the year. With bullish president, bullish SEC, bullish Fed, bullish ETF momentum, etc., Bitcoin has been underperforming most assets over the past year. Guess how bad the next year will get? And whales are selling because they see the writing on the wall, selling pressure. So a lot of fear is in the market right now. I will say, I'm trying not to add to the peak fear. Like I shouldn't be turning extremely bearish at the bottom. But it is also just to say I don't want people to get completely hurt if we do continue to go lower. But we have Psychedelics saying alts are holding super strong against Bitcoin. Alts have broken their high time frame and low time frame trend and are impulsing higher. This isn't my opinion. This is the total 3 versus Bitcoin chart. And this is not what happens when everything is all over. You can see the original tweet to this I shared on the high time frame view. And alts have clearly bottomed against Bitcoin. This does not signify it's over. It signifies that Bitcoin is being pushed farther down than it should be. And alts have started their period of outperformance against Bitcoin. Again, that's not my opinion. This is simply what the chart says. So he's sharing the total 3, which is all the altcoins versus Bitcoin here. And that the total 3 is going up. And Bitcoin is actually performing worse than, altcoins are actually performing better than Bitcoin. So you can see here, Bitcoin down like 4%. A lot of these altcoins less than that. I mean, XRP at 2%, ETH at 3%. Some of these altcoins are doing better, than Bitcoin even is. So it seems like Bitcoin is being sold even harder than alts right now, which could give a pop if there is a rebound. It could give a pop to altcoins to go higher. Then we have Raoul Paul sharing, so the US government has reopened. What's next? Expect a few days for TGA spending to begin to significantly add liquidity and should persist for several months. Obviously, QT ends in December and the balance sheet will crawl higher. We should see the dollar begin to weaken again. The next key step is to avoid the year-end fund freezing. Expect several temporary measures to add liquidity. Term funding and SRF operations are most likely. They'll eventually morph into the desperately needed changes in the SLR to allow banks to absorb more issuance and re-lever their balance sheets. This is a big liquidity bazooka. Expect in Q1. And so that's one reason I want to share this as well. I do think if there is going to be a period of alt season and whatnot, I do think it probably goes into Q1. And I do think as we go towards the end of the year, big funds are trying to lock in profits, sell, tax loss harvest, all this going into the year end. I do think if we are going to get this big liquidity change, it is going to be towards Q1. So it doesn't mean you can't get back in Q1 or hold until Q1. It's up to you guys. But I wanted to put this in here as well as if we are going to get this big liquidity squeeze, I do think it is going to be towards, the beginning of next year. And then finally moving on from Bitcoin, we have Eleanor Torre who says, wow, XRP-C surpassed BSOL to become the biggest ETF launch of the year. To be honest though, with the XRP army behind it, is anyone really surprised? So XRP ETF went live yesterday and it did even better than Solana did. We have Nate Grass who says, Canary's XRP ETF posted the highest day one trading volume out of 900 plus ETF launches this year, also nearly $250 million in inflows. I asked once again, who could have seen this coming? Now, if we go to XRP, it pretty much is exactly how we thought yesterday, where even though it is one of the stronger coins, had the ETF launch yesterday, if Bitcoin was going to sell off like it did, going from 102 to around $94,500, XRP is not going to hold up from that. And so we were waiting to see if we could get back above 250. Haven't done it yet. And so we're still breaking down. I do think if XRP is going to be one of the stronger ones, if Bitcoin wants to have some kind of a bid today, this could be that higher low area. But I wouldn't be doing too much right now. This is kind of the mid zone of this whole area. So I'd wait for us to really get back above here, or I'd wait for us to come back down towards around $2 and wait for this to start getting interested in, buying XRP. So more so at this point, I'm just talking about longing and shorting. But if you want to, spot trade, buy these, whatever you want to do, this is kind of what I'm expecting for XRP right now. If Bitcoin wants to keep going down. But if it doesn't, the best place to get back in is when we reclaim a new higher high and get back above $2.52. But overall, XRP is one of the stronger coins right now. Definitely has to do with that huge XRP army and following the XRP ETF. And then we have CryptoRes showing Solana ETF inflows don't care about the panic. That's 13 straight days for the Solana ETFs. Bitwise 345.8 million, Grayscale 24.4, total 370 million. Retail sold the fear, and institutions still bought the dip. We also have the Solana Labs co-founder who says, in 1 month, Solana processes as many transactions as Ethereum has in its lifetime.
And this is probably the most unique part about Solana is this vision that you don't need separate blockchains or separate layers. So you can put everything into one giant state machine and do it all together as fast as possible. And to give folks a perspective, I think in a single month, Solana does as many transactions as Ethereum does in its lifetime. So
Now, Solana doing a bit worse than before. We said this maybe a week ago that if there was going to be a big area to bid for Solana, it would probably be at this high time frame level of support, which is around 128-ish, this blue box here. We've come back down here. This has been a big level of support for basically years, months now. So if there's going to be an area to come and bid, it's going to be this area. But Solana has been more weak than other coins right now. So I wouldn't be touching this right now. I'd be waiting for us to come down to this blue box around 130 to 120 and wait to see if there's any kind of bid. We really need to change back into an uptrend to get interested in this. So what it might look like is something like this, and then you can start to get interested again. Because right now we're just in this harsh downtrend right now, just making more lower highs. And then lastly for today, we have Sierra and Open Trade launch Sierra, redefining yield on AVAX. So Sierra Protocol has officially launched Sierra, a first of its kind liquid yield token on the Avalanche network. Unlike traditional yield products that require staking, minimum deposits, or waiting periods, Sierra lets users earn yield instantly and transparently. Anyone can swap USDC for Sierra directly through the Sierra web app, or LFJ, formerly Trader Joe, the largest decentralized exchange on Avalanche. The concept is simple. Once you hold Sierra, your yield begins accruing automatically. There are no hidden fees, lockups, or complex staking processes. This simplicity paired with Sierra's design could make it one of the most user-friendly yield options available in DeFi today. And unlike stablecoins that stay fixed to the value of the US dollar, liquid yield tokens are backed by reserves that generate returns. In Sierra's case, these reserves come from both real-world assets like US Treasury money market funds and blue-chip DeFi protocols such as Aave, Euler, and Pendle. These two sources combine to create a diversified portfolio that adjusts dynamically to market changes through Sierra's risk framework. So that is the video for today, guys. I just wanted to tell you what I'm doing. You don't have to follow me. It's not necessarily what the rest of the Altcoin Buzz team is doing, but this is what I am personally doing because of this whole 50-week EMA and where we are in the 4-year cycle. So I very well could be wrong. This could be the exact bottom, and we just pump from here. But I also think going into Q1 will have a different vibe. If there is actually liquidity coming back into the market, and if altcoins want to finally catch a bid, I have no problem buying altcoins back higher with more confirmation that there is actually strength, because we are showing very little strength right now. So that is the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on Monday.